Let me ask you some questions then. Let's see who remembers. The part of the cell that all the energy is produced in, right, is the cytosol of the cell. The cytosol. Is it true or false? It's the mitochondria. Yeah, the mitochondria.
I'm going to say that I have that answer before you ask the question. If that's just what was in
I always like to misdirect. The supplement, popular supplement called carnitine, helps for carbohydrates to enter into the mitochondria for energy. Yes or no? For fat, right? So help mitochondria, but it's helping us to burn properly the specifically long chain fatty acids. And that carnitine shuttle, right? That's helping this that to come in. It uses an important coenzyme called CoQ10 in the carnitine shuttle. No? What is it? What's the right answer? What is it? Yes. Well, where is that done? Is that pretty in the from the carnitine the carnitine shuttle? Goes through the mitochondrial membranes. What do you think, Laura?
I'm sure with the names.
But so when you talk, it makes it familiar. So you can make mistakes. You do feel confident to speak.
I want to know more about.
Oh, glutathione. Okay, yeah.
Glucose.
Okay, we'll get that. We'll get a question for that too.
ATPs, that's back on the free radicals.
Free radicals, yes. But is that CoQ10? Remember that supplement is a very common supplement called CoQ10. People use it for energy production for the heart. That's electron carrier, right? And that's in the carnitine shuttle? No. Where is it? That's right. It's part of the something chain. Electron transport chain. Go close. So that's where the electrons can transfer, and then hydrogen goes up and makes a pump. When it's ATP synthase, the hydrogen comes back because of the electron transport chain. That makes like kind of like a battery charge into the inner the between the two membranes of the mitochondria.
Yeah, I like how you did the whole diagram thing, and then we came right back to the meat of it also.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that part.
Wonderful.
I didn't absorb it all, so
That's
I
okay.
go through my books and like.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here because I like to reinforce ideas, and so this way, when you're going there, it's it's not this cumbersome discussion of how things are, the nodes and this thing. Well, we're talking about it, and then it becomes active in the brain. So when you go and you see your CoQ10 supplement, hey, I know why it benefits my heart. Why does it benefit your heart? Why is it usually being taken for people who want to help their heart? Because there's a lot of fat in the heart, and this helps the carnitine shuttle bring fat into the cells, right? No. Because it helps. Because it helps. Why does it help?
Well, the heart is a muscle.
Muscle.
And it also has electricity in it. It has electrical charges.
Yep.
Firing.
So we need constant energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need energy production in muscles, specifically the heart, that never shuts off. So CoQ10 is one of those electron carriers in the electron transport chain that uses energy from carbohydrate breakdown, but also fat breakdown. But it doesn't have anything to do with clearing fat from the heart. It's just using fat that enters a cell or carbohydrates, right? And that's based on when we eat. Yeah. If you don't follow, just say, go back step, and the wheels are turning. Okay, and then the popular supplement, N-acetylcysteine, NAC. Remember NAC?
It's used as a heavy metal detox.
It's detoxer. But before it's used in other things too. But it was used I was telling you that it's very important because what causes damage in our cells? Free radicals. So what does NAC do to the free radicals? Yes. And? Did you both say the same answer? Changes them? Yeah, eliminates them. But by doing what? It donates something. It donates its thiol group, the sulfur bond, to glutathione. Glutathione is one of the strongest free radical scavengers, right? And it goes through allowing the that free radical that ends up forming. We want to prevent it from forming hydroxyl radicals, right? OH. So glutathione, what it does is it prevents that from happening by making it into hydrogen peroxide. Right? The H's and these little electron negatives, they bind together and then they form something that's a little bit more easy to then make into water and less damaging forms. So NAC has a little thiol group, and glutathione, GSH, also needs that thiol group. So it takes it from, so it's a precursor. That's NAC. And then we talked about vitamins as well. There are very important vitamins. What group of vitamins is very important for the B complexes, the B vitamins? Because some of them have so many areas, they're cofactors. They're like tools, right, for the workers to be using the energy through the electron transport chain. They carry the electrons, and the vitamins provide those carriers, these basic tools. So NAD, for example, and FAD are made from those vitamins, the B vitamins. Okay. So what we're going to talk about, so we covered mitochondria. I want to cover a few more areas of supplements that are very important for overall health. And one of the biggest factors that makes us ill is probably the biggest factor in almost all illnesses is inflammation. Who knows what inflammation is?
It's awful.
Inflammation equals awful. Yes. What is inflammation? Can anyone tell me what they... It breakdown tissue? Okay. It does have some breakdown, yeah. What else does inflammation entail? What was that? Okay, we have to use a different word other than the word in the definition. Aggravating, okay, all right. So, well, what's the aggravation exactly? Red. Yep. So inflammation. There's redness, right? Could be itchy, sure. It could be what else? Pain. What else? Edema, which is like swelling, right? So what's happened is that inflammation is when a reaction happens in the body that causes redness and itchiness and swelling and pain. It's trying to contain the reaction and heal it. But inflammation can get too much, right? And sometimes it can linger too long, right? So if you don't have any, if you get a bump, on your head, or if you get a cut on your skin, then you want it to heal, right? You want the body to send some blood because blood is where all the nutrients are, and you want it to take away the infected material, right? There are some things that are bacteria invading the skin, or areas that are not healed. So you want the blood to go there and pick up the bacteria and clear them out and kill them, and then heal the wound and reconnect, right? So you need some inflammation, but you don't want too much inflammation. So inflammation, where does that process start from? So we have to go back now to our cells. And who remembers what type of cell membrane we have? Yes, it's called the phospholipid bilayer. Very good. We're remembering stuff. So basically, on a cell, there are these little lipid tails and these phosphate heads. All right. So think of these as like circular phosphates. I'll just speed this up like this. These are all circles, okay? And that's one layer. That's the phosphate head. And there's got a little tail that is made from fatty acids. And then we have another layer here. I'll finish that like that. They all circle the heads of the tail, the heads of the lipid, and then they have little tails like this. Okay, so this is the outside of a cell. This is the inside of a cell. And this is a very small layer, and this whole area is very, very big. That's where all this mitochondria are. This is called cytosol, the inside stuff. And there's lots of different cell. If you take a cell biology course, they'll say this is where energy is used as mitochondria. This is the DNA. This is where genetics, your genetic material is. This is where ribosomes and lysosomes and all these different things exist in the cell. They do different things, right? Inflammation starts from, very interestingly, it uses the lipid bilayer. So this is why it's called lipid. Why it's called lipid bilayer? Because there's two. Bi means two, and there's two layers. And the inside fats are. Do you know how fat, if you put it together, it bunches together? So the fat here in the middle all comes together. So the lipid tails are together, and the phosphate heads are on the outside. So these are all fat soluble inside. They want to be close together. And this separates the outside environment from the inside environment. Okay? So let's blow this up a little bit to what's going on here. So this is a phosphate head. And okay. And then this is its little tail. Okay, these are the tails. Okay, these are made from fats. All right, this is made from fats. So all of these fats have a different type of structure. Okay, fats are carbons and hydrogens. So this little tail, right? This is the phosphate head, lipid tail, is C and bind with C, bind with C, bind with C, and they have H's on the other side, hydrogens. why it's called hydrogen, hydrocarbons, right? So they have hydrogens and carbons. All right. This is what makes the lipid tails, and they're tall and they're long tails. If when you get hit or you get hurt or you have inflammation, then what happens is that one of these, that the inflammatory pathway, the signals that get sent to make inflammation, red, hot, pain, swelling, comes by cleaving one of these hydrocarbon bonds. Okay? Now, let's write in red because the red is strong. Okay. So these hydrogens and then this is the rest of the molecule. Okay, this is the omega end, and this is the what's the other end? It's called well, I forget what the other side is called. This is the omega end. There's it's symbolized by small almost like a little W. What happens is that depending on how far this from the omega end, you have a double bond. It makes this fatty chain act differently. And if this double bond is here, then this can't have another hydrogen, and this can't have another hydrogen because it bonded together, right? So it causes the chains to be that tail. Here's the head of the, and it causes it to be a little bit off a little bit because of the way the carbon and there's a double bond that forms, right? Depending on where that double bond is, makes this fatty chain in a certain manner. Either it'll be soft and fluid because of that little link. And so the next head of the next fat will also have this, and you'll have some space in between these lipid tails, and so it causes the layer of the bilayer, the phospholipid bilayer of the cells to be soft and more less rigid. Okay, and that's because they cause some space in between them. If that bond, that double bond, is three carbons away from the omega end, it's called omega 3 fatty acids. Has anyone heard of these? Who's heard of these? So, what have you heard about omega 3 fatty acids? Apparently they're good for us. Okay, well, we're going to understand why. Yes, yeah. Well, they don't put them in eggs. They're able to help the diet of the chickens, so they actually have more fatty acid, omega 3 fatty acids. And omega 3 fatty acids are really good, right? But why are they good? Well, we understand what they are now. When the bond is here, 3 carbons away from the omega end, it's called omega 3 fatty acids. If that bond, double bond, is further down, let's say 6 carbons down, what would the name of that fatty acid be? Omega 6. So omega 6 fatty acids are when this double bond is down further, 6 carbons down. Okay? What is the difference between omega 6 and omega 3 fatty acids? difference is that when that injury happens, something happens, and you have an man, these pens, I wish they give me better pens. You can't see this.
You need your own pen.
I know. I'm gonna say during halftime or something, we can go find that when this inflammation happens, and there's what it comes is it uses somewhere on this fatty acid chain. Omega-3 fatty acids have a lower inflammatory pathway. Okay. So here's your carbons, your chain, and then there's some insult happens, inflammation happens, right? And it results in low inflammation. Okay? If it's omega 3. Okay? So what happens is that you are able to regulate your inflammatory response, and it gets less painful, it's less harmful. The healing still happens, but it subsides faster. And
Is this random where these, your, omega-3s are in your body, or like, is your hand typically, omega-6 and your elbows omega-3, or is it, how does that work?
good question. The question is that if these omega-3s and omega-6s are in certain parts of the body, build up certain parts more than others. It might, I don't have the full answer of if there are certain places that they're more abundant in omega-3 than omega-6, but generally speaking, those who have more omega-3, their body, every single cell has a lipid bilayer. So every single cell will incorporate more omega-3 in it than omega-6. And when you get injured in any part of the body, it will use that omega-3 fats and launch the inflammatory reaction.
So my question is it standard for your body to have omega-3s as opposed to omega-6s? Or is it due to something that your diet or whatever that you have more 3s and 6s, or is this genetics? Or like how does
So these omega-3s and omega-6s, they come from the diet. So where do omega-3 come from? Where do you guys think? If you said, oh, those omega-3 eggs, right? Fish. Fish?
Fatty fish.
Yeah, fatty fish like salmon and mackerel and sardines, right? The yummy ones, yeah. They have high omega-3 and cod, right? These have high omega-3 fatty acids. And even eggs, why? If they're grass-fed and they run around. But if you give them grains, then they end up having a higher omega-6. So really healthy natural foods have a higher omega-3 fatty acid percentage. And those fats, when you eat them, then they get incorporated into every cell of our body. And that's why those who have a lot of healthy eating, omega-3s, their bodies are in just overall better health. Because anything that happens, if you have a heart problem, if you have an eye problem, if you have a knee problem, then it'll heal better and you will recover faster and you will have less injury and you can do more. So you're aging slower.
So like, that's omega-3 or 6?
So eggs, fish, even some meats that are grass-fed, flaxseed oil. There's something called evening primrose oil. Okay, these are, we're jumping right to it, supplements that you can find.
So if you had a omega-6, in your body,
We all do, and we need it.
and then we ate a bunch of fish. Would our body then change the molecular structure of that chain to make it a 3 instead of a 6?
That's right, because we are what we eat, right? Yeah. So you begin to have better oils, and then you're over time burning some oils, and you're using oils, and they're incorporating into your cell structure, and you have a higher omega 3 constitution of your cells. So you're the bilayer. Now, omega 6 is also needed. You can't just have omega 3. You have to. It's not like you just have omega 6 or just omega 3. Both are needed, and so those are found higher in like beef and some of the red meats and animal dairy products. Lots of things. And they're not unhealthy, but you just need to have a good balance of omega 3. And oftentimes we don't get a lot of omega 3 in our diet because they're as soon as you start processing more, even the eggs and everything, you're getting further away. Fish is not as some people have more fish in their diet, some people don't. So very good question. so so the omega 3 oftentimes is a important supplement because what it's doing is it's allowing your oils in the cells to be higher, have higher amounts of omega 3 in their lipid bilayer compared to omega 6. You're balancing it out.
So cod liver oil, would that be omega 3?
Yes.
We
Okay.
all grew up on that.
Yeah, cod liver, great. Yeah, this is great stuff. So I said these are some of the oils. You can get them in eggs, fish, flaxseed. Not all eggs, right? But fish oils, flaxseed. Mostly, you're getting omega 6 from most meats, but fish is a very high source. So we're talking about. This is not. We can talk about a dietary. Dietary course would be an interesting one too about how to, foods. But because we're focusing on supplements, I'm talking about a very well-known supplement that everyone usually takes, which is fish oils and cod liver oils and these type of oils. They're very heavy in omega 3 fatty acids. And just to give you all the information, oftentimes there are 2 things listed on the ingredients of fish oils. They're EPA and DHA, which is okay. I don't know. I don't want to get too detailed, but this is eicosapentaenoic pentanoic acid, and this is docosahexaenoic acid. It's just basically where how many how long that the chain, the lipid phosphate head and lipid tail, how long it is. So it's eicosapentaenoic acid and docosahexaenoic acid are basically the chains. You don't have to memorize that, but you should know. What you should know is when you go for your fish oils, the EPA is higher focused on inflammation regulator. Okay, the DHA is higher for nerves and brain and eyes health. So if you are interested in, when you go to a supplement store, you want to look at oils that are depending on what you need them for. If you want just a general one, you can get it a little bit more like equal parts EPA to DHA. If you're looking for specifically concentration, fogginess, eye problems, you want to go for an oil that's higher in DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Right? Following along? Is it good? Now, these two are in fish oils. And so fish oils can also oftentimes have a problem of where you get that oil. And so if you have oils from fish that are in heavily contaminated waters, a lot of mercury and heavy metals, then it affects the oil that you'll be consuming. So one of the things that to take into consideration is finding oils that are third party tested. This is why third party testing is very good, because sometimes you'll have people who wanted to sell you their oils, and then right. So third party testing is important. It all depends if you like the taste of fish oil or not, or you like the, if you need to want a gel capsule or not. Like I, I don't mind it. I take this as medicine, so I'll just take the oil directly, like a cod liver oil. So yes,
So just like a question about that, because I've tried to take some of the fish oils before, like some of the better brands.
yeah.
But like the gut rot that goes with, like, is there certain kinds that are a little bit more gentle on your digestive system? Because no matter how weak or how whatever fancy I take, like, I'm not a big.
You can't digest it.
No, it's just like I get an upset stomach. Like it just.
Did you try the liquid forms?
Yeah, I tried the liquid and the capsules. Like,
Nothing suits you.
no, I don't know if I just need to tough it out or what.
Udo's oil. Okay. So,
Yeah.
okay.
That's kind of salad and stuff.
Okay. So right. So okay. So now let's just keep on going with our fish oil, with our omega-3 fatty acids. So we talked about fish right now. Now flaxseed is also omega-3. Okay. However, it doesn't have EPA and DHA. It has precursors that will help EPA and DHA develop, but the way flaxseed is I think it's called linoleic acid that it has, and it has some of the benefits for anti-inflammatory, but it seems to be better for more like skin conditions and things that have to do with the EPA and DHA seem to regulate the inflammation and the nerves better. The flaxseed seems to have more like the tissue benefits, connective tissue and skin. So there's some companies, like she said, Udo's oil. What they do is they mix flaxseed and they don't put fish oils in it. They put different seed oils, and I think it's all vegetable. So they mix a blend of some oils that help to increase your omega-3 and omega-9. What's omega-9? Well, okay, let's ask, what is omega-9?
Down the chain.
That's right. So the carbon double bond that we were talking about, right, is just further down the chain. 1, 2, 3 would be omega-3. Down further would be omega-6. And down more is a unique oil. A very unique oil. It's called olive oil. Olive oil is an omega-9 fatty acid. An oil that seems to be the perfect place between inflammation and non-inflammation. So you can use, instead of having just fish oils, right? If you are able to get high quality olive oil, and not just olive oil, but the extra virgin, then what you get is a nice, unique omega-9 fatty acid that has the benefit of causing inflammation as you need it, but also down regulating it as you need it. And that's why a lot of the studies, the Mediterranean studies, and in the Middle East, and the places with all these olive trees, they highly prize their olive, and it's year after year it's producing. And I actually, like, I used to live in Jordan and in parts of the Middle East. I used to go every year. We used to go to olive factories and see how they press them, and we'd get the olive oil from them and drench our food in it. And it's a brilliant oil. And a lot of the studies that I've done on the heart health from those regions are done from omega-9. Now, what does the industry do to profit off this research? Well, there's one other oil that has omega-9, and it's very cheap to make. It's called canola oil. So all that beautiful research coming out of omega-9 fatty acids that have to do with the expensive extra virgin olive oil, they say, here, take canola oil, which is also linseed oil, right? And they start promoting that. And if you get a supplement, you have to look. It might say omegas, 9 fatty acids, heart health, you're going to be healthy. And you see one little percentage of olive oil, and the rest is just canola oil. So you could have got that supplement. You could have just got to your grocery store and just bought a big tub of that cheap oil and chugged it if you wanted. I wouldn't. Yeah, because this is the importance of learning what these supplements are and the tricks these companies play on us, and it's criminal in my opinion. To mess around with people's health for profit is criminal. So
They're the same people that own the food companies also own the pharmaceuticals. So they're
some of them,
making
yeah.
us sick and then
Yeah,
killing
right.
us.
And there's really no way except doing a lot of these things yourselves, and but olives are like this is uncomparable. The quality of the oil that comes out of that, and especially the extra virgin. And the extra virgin not only does it have they have other like phytochemicals inside that oil, also anti-inflammatory and beneficial and antioxidant, all these huge benefits. So you don't want to go through oils. This is also a separate course in itself about oils that we buy and stuff that is causing a lot of inflammation problems, and the processing and the bleaching. And there's a whole process that it ruins the oils. Yeah, but so for supplements, to keep our topic supplements, right? But quickly before we finish up the oil topic, because I want to move on to the other stuff too, is that those phosphate head and lipid tails, based on where that double bond is, makes this nice and fluid, the tail, or it makes it rigid. And so when you have a process of hydrogenation, right? Have you heard of this process? Hydrogenated oil. Who remembers where this came from? Melts in your mouth, but not in your hand. M&Ms. Do you know where they came up with that? Because when you add hydrogens, remember these are carbon-hydrogen bonds. And when that double bond happens, then what happens? You can't have enough hydrogen there. So what they do is they break this bond and they add more hydrogen. It's called hydrogenation. They hydrogenate it. They increase the hydrogen content. So what that does is it makes these chains less fluid. They become solid at regular temperatures. And that's why the M&Ms, they were able to add the hydrogen, and when you held it in your hand, it didn't melt. But when you put it into higher temperatures like your mouth, it would melt. So in their new technology, they said M&Ms melts in your mouth and not in your hands. I want it to melt in my hands, okay? It's okay. I don't want hydrogenated oils because that hydrogenation has shown to be super inflammatory. That hydrogenation is what ruins the oils, and it causes, instead of the exact opposite of what we're trying to do in our fish oils, which is decrease inflammation, hydrogenation increases our hydrogenation. Yeah? And so hydrogenation is very bad. What it leads to is something called trans fats. Okay? And this is these fluid tails, right? Nice solid fluid, nice fluid tails into straight tails, right? And it makes that fat that you're having solid at room temperature because they're straight. They don't have that little kink, So now that hydrogenation and causes something called trans fats are very dangerous. As soon as you have this very packed hydrogen, this Fat, it's solid, it's a solid structure, and it's highly inflammatory. That's what trans and hydrogenated fats are. Make sense? Super fascinating, right? Huh? Margarine. Oh my God! Please do not buy margarine. Buy butter, real butter. Yeah, or yeah, you know your cat, your cows, your goats, whatever you like to eat, grain,
I
right?
stopped buying margarine like that.
No.
No, it's a bit. But when someone said to me, if you have flies in your hat, like, will they not go to the margarine or will they go to the butter? And then if the flies weren't going with that, I'm like, flies sit on a lot of fruit. So if they're not going to this, there's something wrong.
or ants,
Right?
or lily because so this is not food, right? It's this artificial thing that, and so that this is why, okay, for kids listening at home, you have to remember this is why your parents say do not have chips and junk food and burgers and french fries all the time because it's filled with hydrogenated and trans fats. And that's why you take your fish oil supplements, right? Because these things, it's not just a matter of what we studied before of energy production. It's not just about glycemic index. It's not. This is about what we're made of. Our energy is not just coming in, being used and leaving. This is making the structure of our body. So I, for example, I like if I see something with hydrogen, I can't bring myself to eat it. So hard because I just know that this is not something short term. Even though trans fats and these hydrogenated oils do increase your insulin spikes as well. It's bad for them too, for that aspect. But the fact that it gets incorporated into ourselves, into our cells, makes it just that much more horrible.
How's the burger?
It depends how it's made, right? So if you,
Processed or homemade.
Fast food versus.
yeah, you in these fast food restaurants, we don't know what how they're what they're putting in there, and what they're feeding the animals, where this is coming from. You don't have like a grass fed
Well, no,
Nice.
that's what I was trying to figure out.
fast food. I'm talking about fast food. I'm not talking about a nice home. You have your own animals grazing, and those are good. Those are good meats.
So I did a experiment on like some margarine,
Yeah.
and I put it in just in a cup, and put it up in the cupboard, wrote the date on it.
Yeah.
Put a cheese slice beside it, wrote the date on it, left it for a year and a half.
Okay.
Never changed color,
Yeah, the
It
margarine.
did or didn't?
did not.
Oh, cool.
And it's like if I could have put it in the fridge and you would have grabbed it, not there's nothing wrong. I could have bought it, you know, I still eat the stuff, but I didn't eat that stuff, but
Yeah.
Nothing changed, no breed, no.
Yeah.
Like a fake cheese slice?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Did it like get hard at least?
Nope.
Right? Oh,
Yeah.
We're still on that. It's
Still
still.
fine.
It's a hydrocarbon. Yeah, it's just
But it wasn't stored in the fridge. You know, my supermarket is stored in the fridge.
Yeah, you guys any questions? Just come on, jump on to
They're fake.
Patreon.
Interesting.
So yeah. Anyways, this is your the exactly what's happening at our lipid bilayer level and how our health is very directly affected by the oils and the supplements from fish oil, flaxseed oil, even primrose oil, olive oil. This is how those supplements and this is how that works, and also the scam of like just giving you what is it called? Rapeseed oil is canola oil. Yeah, so.
So grapeseed oil is bad.
Rapeseed. I mean, it's canola oil is processed. It's a new name for it because I think it's made in Canada or something, so they call it canola or something like that.
So using grapeseed oil as a carrier?
No, not rapeseed.
Grapeseed.
Rape, R-A-P.
Oh,
I think they
Rapeseed.
changed the name because of rape.
Yeah, they changed the name to make it like Canadian. Like yeah, whatever. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't use that in my cooking but yeah.
so as a carrier oil, you're saying you use essential oils, right?
Essential oils?
Being absorbed into the skin, wouldn't that affect the cells?
Maybe, but when we're eating, it goes through a digestive process. So our fats are broken down, and then they go into the blood through a process of digestion and metabolism. What you absorb through your skin doesn't go through that same process. It is absorbed, but does it get incorporated into the cell membrane? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I would look that up. Yeah, that'd be something interesting. This is from I'm talking from oral
Yeah,
supplementations.
when you said grape, I thought you said grape.
Yeah.
It's
No,
grapeseed oil.
grapeseed oil is good. Yeah.
It's good.
But it's not. I don't know. It's omega. And some you have to, with oils. Again, this is a whole course in itself.
Yeah.
There's whether or not they're good fresh, how long they can last, and whether or not they have what's their smoking point, whether they can be used to cook. All these are all separate topics. We can maybe a dietary course would go into that. Yeah. Okay, so we discussed these fatty acids, the saturated and the unsaturated. I didn't even use my notes. And they make important source of metabolic fuel. They make up the components of the cell membrane. They're important as starting points for synthesis of the eicosanoids, the prostaglandins, thromboxane. These are all inflammatory. The inflammation pathway. Okay.
The saturated and unsaturated?
They're both, all the fats. Once the cell membrane, once the damage happens, they'll be used. The fatty acids that are omega-3 will have lower. Omega-6 will have higher. Saturated and the trans and hydrogenated are the worst. And okay, so what time is it? Okay, you can take break 5-10 minutes if you want, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about probiotics. Right. So this is another area that's very heavy on the supplements industry. Everyone wants to know about probiotics and how they work, and so I thought I'd cover that as well because it affects your digestion again, overall health, inflammation, mind, body. All right. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me. All right. Have a break. So we'll come back, talk about probiotics.
Kids have been in it, and I'm like, I don't remember the last time we talked. So like finding fries and chicken nuggets, and then I'm like, and my husband ate them. I'm just like, feed them that.
So I had friends that had a cottage, closed it up and came back next year. And, we took a margarine on the kitchen table and, they had mice with the cottage, flies and everything, whatever.
Nothing touched it. And it was simply like one molecule away from plastic. I'm like, oh, something's done.
Yes, I teach.
But I do enjoy hanging out with them. I just can't keep enough attention because I do think it's going somewhere. Yeah, probably he's doing it, yeah. No, it's like, I don't know. It's like, it smells like burnt oil all the time. It's hard to know which one to use. You can see or you know, people are funny for some reason. And it's just, try that. But the good thing is it's paid off, so I don't have to fix it. Candy sweet and like canned corn. And oh my gosh, it's gross.
it's like the other side of the water.
Yes. So,
Yeah. So you're heading out of it, go past water,
where's lost?
and you're heading towards lost. It's on the left hand side.
Teaching adults.
You can't miss it. It's almost lost. And you won't pick a lot of your own.
Yeah,
Good
that's
go.
what
I know, I grow on that.
yeah, I like to get some.
Yeah, we're gonna go for probiotics soon.
Just do up on the back. And put the balls in the shot you done.
Well, I chose my pressure care last year, and so I just, so that's like the pool and I hope my case.
Can't do acid and stuff.
It has to be low acid for the pressure care. But like, I have literally set my kitchen on fire before, so I was a little nervous. No, it was gonna explode or something, which of course, it worked, it was really great. Make sure the instructions were out, I kept reading them, I kept watching the gauge, and really so the kitchen, like.
Florida starts playing, so we use those first.
Yeah, I have a lot of work, like, oh, here we go. Yeah, I put the cord, I couldn't believe how good it turned out, like, and it was the hot pack method, so next thing you need is the cold pack method. With the beans, I did the cold pack method, so I'll try the hot pack. I don't really know what to do, so I'll figure it out. I think it's just, well, you gotta put hot liquids in it.
Okay.
So you're gonna put it on the stove and it's gonna be warm up.
Yeah, I put all of it just in the canner, yeah, just like, low, just so that I can put water on this, sugar, and jars for it, and then let it come to water, pack it, ladle of water into it. Fingers. Pack it.
But you can't go, you can't have to do all that cold. And then just- you can't on the stove, start heating it.
Water's-
Yeah,
The water's not hot, like it's not boiling hot.
you just don't want these big jars. Cold jars, with hot water.
So if it's cold, I can have cold water and then just start the temperature.
Even when we can't
Yeah,
put that much water in borrowed jars and put them in the oven.
yeah.
That way you've got the jar heated up, you have the water out, you put your hot salsa sauce or pizza sauce or tomatoes into it. So it doesn't shatter. That'd be awful, because you got all this work done and it shatters.
Oh, yeah, and it is so much work like that. I only did like 24 corn and I was like 6 hours.
Get the corn out of the gut.
I husked it with outside and then I think it was a perforated head tonight and I just.
Okay, so should we get going? Yeah, should we go? So yeah, just so I have a couple of very cool notes on the stuff that we did before we go into probiotics. So the fish oil is obviously very important part of our health, and the supplements are like a big industry. So things it'll help that are very affected by this, that conditions. All inflammation is affected by it, but like acne and allergies, angina, heart disease, arthritis, autoimmune conditions, dermatitis, skin eczema, psoriasis, diabetes, brain fog and learning problems, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, irritable bowel. These are all conditions that a good fish oil supplement is pretty needed. And you can get away with doing some good things here and there, but in the long run, you need to regulate your inflammation. Yeah. And what else could I say about something? This is very important. Yeah, and there's a lot to be said, but I think that's pretty good. You know what's crazy is that like they usually say if you want to see our ratios. This is another thing that's kind of interesting. Your omega-3 to omega-6 would be really ideal if we were around 2 to 1, like 2 omega-6 or 2 omega-6 to 1 or four, two or two to four, let's say. Let's say four, you would be still a pretty good range if you had 4 omega-6 to 1 omega-3 amounts. Okay? So you're looking like a 2 to 4 to 1 ratio. So you're going to have more omega-6 in the diet and in your body. But if you had, for every 4, 1 omega-6, omega-3 fatty acid, you're going to have a pretty good ratio.
Say that again, sorry.
So your ratio, okay, so omega, so we're not on probiotics yet, so we're back on fish oils, right? Or sorry, fatty acids, fatty acids ratio. So omega 6 to omega 3. If you had 2 to 4 units of omega 6 to 1 unit of omega 3, you can do this test. I don't think your doctor will probably do it because they don't look into this stuff. But you could ask for your omega 6 to omega 3 ratio, and they will check your red blood cells, or they can do a more complete panel, or you can pay for it. You can get a lab to do this test for you, and it tells you how prone you are to inflammation, and it'll check your ratio. So anywhere between a 2 to 4 to 1 is quite good. Even a little bit more than that, you're going to be balanced. Nowadays, because of kids eating like just chips and hydrogenated oils, we're having kids coming in and checking their ratios, and it's like 40 to 1. It's like your fast food, mom's working, they just making quick pre-packaged foods, right? Not from whole sources. And this is like recipes for disaster. As soon as you start aging, you get injured a little bit, anything is going to turn into a major problem for inflammation. And I know I do feel as a physician, like I have a responsibility, like just to get, it's hard to tell people later, right? You know, this whole thing of a pound of, an ounce of prevention, right, is worth a pound of cure. Later, you're in the hospital, you're going to be constantly going backwards to try to heal all the inflammation happening. But if you start early, right, you get your, that's why there's nothing better you can do than having an early start. It's never too late. I mean, we can always go back to help correct this, but there's an advantage if you're early childhood, you're nursing your kids, you're having healthy oils in your diet, you're having no fast food in the diet, or minimum you're going out for a treat or whatever. But cafeteria foods, right? Kids especially in the US, we don't have that in Canada, but the US there's a lot of cafeteria foods, right? A lot of that is all hydrogenated. It's not even just omega-6. It's like hydrogenated, so it's a serious problem.
So your omega-6 is
Your meats, yeah,
your red meats.
right. And but this, if this even gets more lopsided and you're into hydrogenated, then that number of omega-3 falls very, very low.
So we want to be consuming 2 to 4 red meats to 1 fish.
It won't. It's not just like that. But that would probably be okay too. But I would say try to get as much omega-3 as you can. And sometimes it can be done just through diet. But a supplement it's a very useful supplement. The omega-3 fatty acid supplement.
You can't overdo it.
Very hard because we have enough research from the Inuits, right? They're eating it all the time. Yeah, they're right. But the studies that we have from the Mediterranean diet and the Middle Eastern diet, the omega-9 is it seems their longevity is even more. So it's not a direct correlation, So let's move on to probiotics. So probiotics are also very the research on this is growing, and we don't know everything, but it's a wonderful and very deep world of um, of health and illness that is developed over time, and it determines almost everything, because they say that we are actually not us. There's more bacteria than us, right? In our system. Billions and billions, trillions of bacteria in our intestinal tract and our bodies. So how those bacteria interact with us actually forms everything about us. How we think, how we feel, how we look even. Those bacteria will determine, because they help our inflammation, they help our digestion, they help our weight, they help our thought process, they help our positivity, negative mindset, all that. It's linked to the bacteria specifically in our gut. So who has heard of what probiotic means? Probiotics. Have you heard of it?
Is it just putting the good bacteria back into your system?
Yes. So it's not just good at putting it back in the system, but there are microorganisms that are beneficial. And so we call them probiotics because they benefit. And then there's bad organisms that are opportunistic. And what they do is, as soon as we get sick or we're stressed a little bit, or we have we take an antibiotic, right? So this is the problem with antibiotics. When you take antibiotics, then it kills bacteria in general. And then if whatever it didn't kill and it's opportunistic, it begins to overgrow. And now it didn't die, and it's now conquered more of your intestinal tract. And that may lead to various problems. Because if the bacteria that are, because we all have certain bad bacteria. Like if you go to the hospital, I'm having indigestion, and they're like, oh, you have E. coli. Have you heard of E. coli? Right? We all have E. coli. It's not like E. coli is the problem. We all are exposed to this. But when it overgrows and then there's a serious dietary problem, then they're saying it's because of E. coli, but it's actually not the problem, because we all have E. coli. We have these bacteria, but our system has become weak, and we have perhaps allowed for conditions for health to overgrow. So antibiotics kill the bacteria. Certain bacteria that are strong and resilient and are opportunistic, they overgrow. And if that overgrowth happens, then it affects all of the things that we're talking about. And that's why some people take probiotics. Probiotics are introducing bacteria that are beneficial. All right? And that happens right from birth. Because before we're born, we don't have that rich forest ecosystem of life in our colon. It's like sterile. I don't know if it's exactly sterile, but probably close to sterile, And then as soon as we start, the first greatest thing that we can do, greatest benefit that you could possibly give to the child is having a natural birth. So as soon as you do a C-section, you decrease the inoculation of good bacteria that the child is exposed to. So these traditional methods, we all go back to these traditions, everyone from the old time where your natural births, kids came out resilient, right? And mom didn't have a lot of fast foods and high insulin, and so she didn't have gestational diabetes. So the babies were not at risk and they didn't become so big. And because if mom has gestational diabetes or insulin is high, the child will be heavier, and they will be predisposed to certain problems later on. And then you have a C-section, and they don't get the nice bacteria, and then they're not nursed. And so we have a child now set up for the rest of their life for more health problems than from the old school days where, oh, that's old technology. They don't have any technology, and they were born on a farm. And yeah, bro, that kid is a farm kid. It's like right. So all this technology has actually made this weaker. So the reason for that strength is the exposure of our digestive tract to good bacteria from the birth canal, then through nursing, right? And these bacteria they live inside. They're exposed everywhere, but we've identified some of them. We don't know all of them. There's a whole spectrum, and there's even tests for that. You can actually get your bacteria spectrum. What kind of bacteria do you have? And it tells you, and then you can tells you certain things about yourself. That's too detailed, but things like acidophilus and lactobacillus. Have you heard of this too? So those are two very famous ones. Acidophilus, I think it's like this, Phyllis or is. Oh boy, am I spelling? No. Lactobacillus. That might be an F. I don't know. You have to use Google. Yeah. So, but you'll see them on your, when you go to buy a supplement, you'll see that these are common, like lactobacillus in a lot of milk products, and it helps with when lactic acid. It helps when lactic acid is produced. These bacteria are able to survive on that. And acidophilus, and it survives in an acidic environment. So these bacteria are beneficial, and when we take antibiotics and it kills them off, other bacteria like E. coli or others, or funguses are also microorganisms. So when you take an antibiotic and it kills off a lot of bacteria, and you have a fungus like Candida, what happens? Yeah, Candida grows. So now we have all these problems. Have you heard of? Oh, I have candidiasis. Have you heard of? People have like yeast infections, and they have tongues are very white, and it's because the fungus of the body has overgrown. It's opportunistic. It's taken the place of where the good bacteria were. So very hard to get rid of them, right? And you can't do it through. So antibiotics again are one of those areas that people who take have a lot of exposure to antibiotics, and again, it can start in childhood, because those children who didn't have a good introduction of a lot of bacteria, their immune systems may not be as well developed, and so you will have repeated infections or be more prone to getting colds, and then you'll use antibiotics, and then you're getting weaker, and then there's other bacterial or microorganism overgrowth.
I've done a study where they tested your dishwashing, so whether or not you do your dishes in the sink or if you do them in the dishwasher, you're actually better off doing them in the sink.
No,
opposed to dishwasher.
interesting.
Yeah,
Bacteria, you don't get it all.
well, you just created too much of a sterile environment, so you don't get the natural bacterium that's in society or out in the environment.
Interesting.
Using the hand sanitizer.
So someone was just mentioning the benefit of using hand washing to do dishes instead of a dishwasher,
Yes.
because you have exposure. So sanitizing your children's environment, like we said, saran wrap your kids. Don't let them touch the dirt. Well, there's good bacteria in the dirt, right? So you want to expose them to the small amounts of good and beneficial bacteria in your environment. If you missed this section, what we're talking about right now is on probiotics. We just finished the section on inflammation and how it's linked to the oils. We will talk about a bit how the probiotics are linked to inflammation too. But these, we recorded it, so you can, if you missed it, you can come to the Patreon. The link is there. But remember that these good bacteria, they need an environment, and that environment is nurtured by the things we are exposed to, and also our foods. And foods with, just as we mentioned, the hydrogenated oils and junk foods, what they do is they feed certain bacteria over others. And that also affects the spectrum of good bacteria that we have. It weakens some of them. And then you have some of the problems that we're going to talk about soon, the inflammation and the autoimmune conditions and whatnot. So, yeah, I take the questions here. You have to type them into Patreon here. So let me give you guys some ideas of the supplements that are linked to. First of all, let's understand what. Even though this is more a dietary thing, I want to explain some things about bacteria. Okay, I can't resist, right? Because there's a science to this, but the traditional things that are they're just so amazing. So I just heard you guys talk about, you pickled something. Yeah, canning. This is a traditional way of getting probiotics. Okay, because what is happening when you can? When you take a vegetable and you put it in some brine, like just a salt water solution, and you can put some other flavors in there too, and then you submerge that, okay, there's not much oxygen left in that solution. The salt kills oftentimes a lot of the bad bacteria. The good bacteria survive that are on the vegetable. And then they use the carbohydrates, the sugars in the vegetable to make to make the environment acidic. All right, that's where the flavor comes from. That acidic flavor comes from the breakdown of the carbohydrates in the vegetable from the good bacteria. And that acidic environment makes it more conducive to the good bacteria to flourish and the bad bacteria to die off. So you can that, and it allows for every time you eat to have an exposure to beneficial bacteria in your. Just the act of just traditional ways of canning, so beneficial for our natural. Instead of taking a supplement, okay, even though we're talking about supplements, but like the dietary part is so important. You're exposing yourself to sauerkraut and pickles and all these foods that now are lasting, and they're just takes like a couple of days to weeks for them to ferment. All right, fermentation is now they're using the carbohydrates to make that acidic environment, and that's the taste. However, it doesn't happen when you go to the store and you buy vinegar. When they take the hot water and they put that vinegar and hot and salt brine, and then they boil that kills the bacteria. But because it's acidic, you get the same taste, and then it kind of plays with the taste of the vegetable, but it's not the same as traditional canning methods.
So that's why you do pickled eggs with the vinegar brine.
Okay.
You probably don't want the bacteria because you can keep them in the fridge for 6 months.
Okay.
But pickled with brine.
Right.
Where your fruit and vegetables, except for the pickles, they have dill pickles you do with the vinegar, at least I do.
Okay. But the traditional way to do it is through just putting the brine
water,
and not boiling it and not putting the vinegar. You let the acidity happen because of the reaction of the bacteria eating away at the sugar and then causing this acidic environment. That's where the good bacteria come from.
Because bad bacteria survives and it would be poisonous, correct?
That's right. But it's but they don't survive in salt. Right? Isn't that amazing? And then it creates environment to minimize it. What was that?
My book didn't tell me that.
That's okay, no problem. I'm giving you like this is the science connection is actually really important for to understand health. Even though books will tell you on how to do the process, it's the vinegar and boiling is not the same as the fermentation process. All All right, they both taste good, and you can do it. But we're doing health course, so that's why. I think these connections are really useful.
Everything we're trying to make the ginger buns too. Do they homemade ginger ale?
Okay. Oh yeah. And actually, like homemade ginger ale, that fermentation process, you can also make the good old traditional root beer. You know how to make root? That's from sassafras. Okay, connecting our old now. I'll connect our old herbal course. Sassafras. Have you seen the sassafras tree? It's like that. It has like a mitt type glove. Like it looks like a glove. The leaf. Yeah. It's everywhere around here. My neighbor was just gave me a recipe on let's make some root beer. So it's from the sassafras root, and then you dig it up and you chop it up and boil it up, and then you ferment it, and with a couple of other things in that, and it forms this like good old root. Actually, if you smell it, it actually smells like root beer. And it's made from the roots. Yeah, this would be really fun to make. Actually, Don, we got to make this. Yeah, bring us some root beer. I gotta make some too, actually. 'Cause then it's illegal, yeah, because now here's the government regulation stuff. This is so interesting, right? They don't allow you to sell root beer. They don't allow, because if you use it, it's I don't know, some probably exorbitant amounts, probably giving like I don't know 5 buckets of it to some rat. The rat died.
It's classified as carcinogenic.
Yeah.
Half of the dried is legally sold in health food stores and specialty markets.
But these are not how they traditionally use these ingredients. So even so you can make it yourself, right? But you can't no longer get root beer because they can't sell it because sassafras now apparently is carcinogenic. But honey, even if you give honey, 5 buckets of honey to a rat is gonna right? Like these are excessive experiments. They just I think it's all lopsided. Also, most yogurts and things you go buy for the fermentation, they don't have the fermentation, they don't have the bacteria because they're all pasteurized. So when you get all these, the regulations force you to kill off the bacteria. That's why it's better to make them yourself if you can. There's some probably yogurt, some lactobacillus and stuff that remains in it, but if you can make it by apparently. My mom used to do this. I really wish to go back to it. She used to take milk and just take a scoop of yogurt and put it in and leave it like overnight, and it would just next morning you go like yogurt because the bacteria changed it. Yep.
So the thing with the sassafras is not common in Ontario, but it's found in the Carolinian zone, which is where we are.
The what?
Until Toronto. So like the Carolinian forest is kind of all around our area. That's what's
Well, where we live?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Norfolk is called
Yes.
So-
Carolinian.
Well, Carolinian. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Carolinian?
Yes.
Oh, why do they call that?
You can actually get the sassafras tree from, what's that place we went to that, St. Williams?
Oh, it's tree farm down in St. Williams.
Oh, okay.
They sell them. in the
So
So
spring.
they don't usually go much past Toronto, like as far as.
Yeah.
So this is the Rocky Mountains and all that, we're in the same zone.
As the Rocky Mountains.
Yes, as the trees and all that.
Oh.
So they had the decision what's in the connector is the same as we do, so.
Okay.
There's certain trees that will, this is the northern aspect of where they will grow.
Okay, yeah. I know we live in a place with we have nice trees and sassafras grows everywhere. I didn't realize it was not up there. But but why is it called Carolinian?
I'm not sure it's the Carolinas or whether it's
Hmm.
Ice Age thing or something. I heard
Okay.
something.
We can grow it's called Kentucky coffee tree,
Oh, okay.
only up into this area, and you can't grow it like Guelph or anywhere else, like this is just the.
Yeah, because where we are is a little warmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. The winters are not so hard.
The climate has something to
Yeah.
do with the zoning and whatnot.
Very cool. Yeah. So sassafras you can make it. So this is all this fermentation process, and it's nice. The drinks also become nice because it's fizzy. Right. But going back to so we covered some of the good bacteria, and these bacteria in foods that you can get into supplements are from these sources like cheese and yogurt, tempeh, Miso. Miso is not a bacteria, but it's another. They call it another microorganism that's beneficial. These are beneficial, like microorganisms. Lactobacillus and bifidus, acidophilus, right? These are all in our GI tract, introduced through good food sources and other exposures. So when you have these, okay, so you can, if you don't have these and you want to get as a treatment, oftentimes you can use them as a pill, and you don't even have to memorize all the things. If a company is not gonna put dangerous bacteria usually inside a supplement, but you can take that supplement, and the capsule also kind of prevents it from digesting in the stomach, so it needs to go down further into the digestive tract, and those bacteria, when in their digestive tract, then they help in various ways. So what do these probiotics do? So probiotics, they inhibit the growth of bad bacteria, number one. They grow on the walls of the GI tract, right? Our gastrointestinal tract. And that helps with these microorganisms help with digesting some of the foods that we eat. So they'll help in the digestion of it. Okay, so we're not doing all of the digesting ourselves with our mouth and teeth and stomach acid. These little bacteria are also helping that along, and they can sometimes produce, if we haven't chewed properly or our bacteria aren't good, it can produce more gas and bloating. That's one of the signs, because there's products that are from digestion. And
So probiotics are supposed to help with gas or make it worse?
But it should be better if a good balance of bacteria there, and we've chewed our food thoroughly, and there's more surface area, right? Because when we chew our foods, right? When you know why we get gas and bloating when you don't chew your food? Because if you have a lump of something, a morsel, right? Then liquid is trying to attack this little morsel of food, but it only has this much surface and this surface and this surface to attack. If you break it into smaller chunks, the same volume of food has more surface, more area for your bacteria and for your stomach acid and for all the digestive juices to attack. So it's able to break it down. So which is very important to chew our foods. If we don't, then these larger chunks go down, and then the bacteria start attacking it, and it sits around in the digestive tract for longer, and then you can get gas and bloating because of it, because you have it's not digested down well. So it's very important to chew your food. And I should be telling myself that because I eat very fast.
So the probiotics, if taking this supplement, doesn't the stomach acid go in?
It does. That's why the capsule helps a little bit. And then you want at least some percentage to get through, right? So you're basically, so it's a process. It's a process, and it's a process of growth too. It's like think of it like a rainforest of life at a very micro, cosmic level. And so when you take antibiotics, like you just clean cut all those nice trees and everything. It takes time to regrow and replenish. So
What would we look for in probiotic? You want to go
So you would take oftentimes we try to take probiotics. You take it after an antibiotic.
No, I mean, if you can go buy a probiotic, what would we look for?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that with probiotics, if you just have a healthy diet, you shouldn't need it. You would be looking for it to get a probiotic supplement if you had some antibiotics, if you had some surgery, if you had some symptoms that you seem So probiotics help regulate the system, and we already have good bacteria. But sometimes, as a popular supplement, if you have gas, bloating, your inflammation, you have high inflammation. If you have so I was explaining where probiotics are used. It's used when you have your digestion is not well, your concentration, you have, because it's a very interesting thing that we found is these probiotics, when they're not digesting the foods well, then they lead to okay, sorry.
I think there are people that have digestive problems.
But this may not be. I want to. So I like to explain the full picture before I just give a direct answer. And I know sometimes I give like long-winded answers, but I really like it. Yeah, short story long. But because I like to for you to understand. This way, it's empowering to know what it is that you're doing, and otherwise it's like you're just kind of shooting in the dark, right? Not all indigestion problems are because of the bacteria. Right. So don't just think I have some indigestion, therefore I should take probiotics. Understand how the probiotics are working and how it's influencing the system, and then it would be beneficial for you. It might be beneficial to take it. Otherwise, not everyone needs to. The bacteria are it's like there's something wrong, and you want to invite like a plumber over to fix the leak, right? But you don't always need that plumber over, right? Some problems are not there for the plumber. There's just he doesn't have to live at your house. So you have a good functioning ecosystem, and sometimes you can introduce new bacteria. Otherwise, and if you don't have that particular condition that need it, food is enough. I'm not promoting all these supplements. You have to go take NAC, go take CoQ10, go take fish oils. No, I'm telling you where they fit in. Some are more important than others, but they don't always have to be taken. Like, I don't want you to leave this course. I'm going to get all these 10 different supplements every day because I took a supplements course. You should know where they're beneficial. Okay, I'm not selling anything.
So basically, if I think, just sort of ties it in, if I had surgeries and I was on antibiotics, I've been sick for a while.
Yeah.
Then I'm probably lacking probiotics because
Yes.
they've been destroyed, or bacteria's been destroyed.
Yes.
But I might want to eat some yogurts or some cheese. Or
Yep.
something.
Or you could take a supplement, right? So we use them afterwards, and so they're linked to now. So let me explain how they're. So in the gut we have. So naturopathic medicine and natural therapy always had these concepts before. Currently probiotics are so big, but we were explaining that there's this concept of leaky gut. Have you guys heard of leaky gut? Everyone has heard of leaky gut now, but before this was like, oh, this is just quacky medicine or something. Leaky gut is a serious problem. In the intestinal tract, when you have food that is not digested well, right? It could be because of not chewing. It could be because of low stomach acid. It could be because of, bacteria not digesting it. Then that undigested particles can sometimes larger particles go into the blood. And then they cause an immune response. So the bacteria can help break these down. It can help make a coating. So those things are not as leaky. Bacteria can help make a coating and help the digestive tract. Also, when these bacteria digest the food, they release like neurotransmitters and hormones like serotonin and precursors, dopamine, to help us feel good, think better, because they can go into the blood and then they go up into the brain and they cross the blood-brain barrier. So we've discovered now that the state of the gut itself is directly linked to mood and mental health. So you eating things that will decrease your good bacteria, and not having yogurts and not having kimchi and not having sauerkraut and fermented foods. And if you go to the store, you have to see it says it'll be like natural ferment or lacto fermented. That's how you'll see that it's actually done not with vinegar, but with the actual probiotics, right? Those will help they help mental health, they help the mood improve, because these bacteria are linked to the health of the gut, right? They help with infection. They help with the gut lining, decreasing the leaky gut, decrease inflammation, right? Because now you have particles leaking through. They also help with hormone regulation, and and send signals to the rest of the body to decrease your inflammation. Because once you have things coming into the body through leaky gut, then you have inflammation in parts of the body that is causing a big fat reaction. So you guys are following. I don't want to go into too much stuff that gets like side tangent, but you follow this chain? I don't. Okay. Yeah, so dopamine, GABA, serotonin. I explained to you how the candida and overgrowth of opportunistic and fungi can actually influence yeah, so I don't think the names of these organisms are going to be that important. We want a balanced microflora. That's what's called a microflora. That's probably the main message that would be beneficial for you guys. As supplements, you would use them as needed and yes, you could take, I mean, there's no harm if you feel that, let me just give it a shot. I'm going to pick up a probiotic. That's okay, right? The names that are on there, I wouldn't worry too much. I can list them off. I can rattle them off, but like usually people will have a mix of the probiotics in their supplements.
Does it matter if they're like refrigerated or not refrigerated, or is that?
So once they're dry, the bacteria, once they're dried and they're put into pills, then they're like inactive. And once moisture touches them is when they will start.
Oh, because some they sell in the refrigerated section. You get the capsules.
Alhamdulillah. They're not selling them as capsules. Usually there's something called Bio-K. It's like a yogurt.
Oh no, I've seen them in capsules. Like the capsules have been sold in the fridge part of it.
So maybe they're moist inside.
They're still powdered. Like we used to give them to the kids when they were little because they had a lot of issues.
Okay.
And they were all powders, but powders you had to keep in the fridge, which was weird. So okay. So it might just be a marketing thing.
No, I don't know. I would have to see that. Maybe there is something in there that still has some life or something, because you'll actually go into they'll say this many billion bacteria, right? So maybe they've prepared it in some way that I'm but once it's usually dry, it should be good. And then, but once you have it, then it'll get into the place, and then they'll proliferate. So most probiotics are tolerated well. There isn't some things called prebiotics. Prebiotics are foods for probiotics. Probiotics are the good bacteria that are beneficial. Prebiotics sometimes are foods that that those bacteria can use. And there's certain foods that are in like bananas. They have sources that are beneficial for some of these bacteria, or butter. Short chain fatty acids can help some of these bacteria. That's called prebiotics. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, I can take those. I think that's a pretty good coverage of probiotics and their usefulness and their important place in all these conditions, from inflammation to mood, the brain, the gut brain connection, and mental health, antibiotics. I've covered most of the points that I wanted to, that I think are useful. Yeah, any questions? I can take them. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's.
Eating flowers is not as good as eating oil because it's not compressed enough, whatnot.
This
It's
is.
pickle.
It's you won't be able to get as much oil, right? So oil has a place. Food has, of course, a place, but is eating olives better than eating olive oil? It's good for probably probiotics. It has oil, but you're not going to get as much oil. Yeah. So you still have to have oil in your diet. Yeah. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad. All right. So thank you very much. Next week I guess next week is our last week on supplements. So I'll see what we can do that's quite maybe practical. I think, focusing on inflammation and the gut and the building blocks of health, the most popular supplements. I think we're hitting the main areas. I was thinking about a little bit more pathways that you guys can take home and know that would be good for your, like, things that will come up on your blood tests and things for your health. That would be useful. So maybe we'll talk about that next week. All right. Guys, have a nice night.